Hello and welcome to this very short session on Bihari literature. Uh, it's a privilege to be moderating a session with Anamika. As he introduced her already, she's a Sahitya Akademi Award winner, poet, novelist, and essayist. And Abhay K. Abhay is a diplomat, and he has probably produced more books in the last few years than many full-time writers. He's kind of written and edited over a dozen books. And you can see his very well-curated website, abhayk.com, to see his larger body of work. This anthology is a remarkable anthology. It sets at rest many things that we know about Bihari literature. First, it kind of tells you what Bihari literature is, and it sets at rest the larger opinion thing that Bihari literature is about Hindi or Maithili or Bhojpuri, the languages which are more known outside Bihar. What Abhay has done is kind of put together a remarkable collection of works from languages as diverse as Bajjika, Maghi, Angika, things, the languages we didn't know about outside Bihar. Even in Bihar, as Abhay himself has written in the introduction, he wrote once that there is no literature in Maghi, and people pointed out, no, there is. So this whole diverse range of things that he has put together, it's a remarkable anthology. So you have the Buddhist nuns talking about liberty. You have Kautilya. You have protest poet Nagarjuna, and contemporary writers like Anamika and Amitabha Kumar, and then the youngest one is born in 1992. Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I kind of, so it's, I wanted just, because since it's a short session, I want them to speak more, and I'll begin with Abhay. How tough kind of was it to put together an anthology of a place which doesn't have a boundary? And how did you go about selecting works in a language? And how did you realize that this is representative of the language? For instance, your own mother tongue, Maghi.
Well, when you don't know anything, you know, you can do books like this. So I had no idea what is actually Maghi literature. And when I started editing this book, I realized that I have to depend on the people who are there, right there at the ground and writing these stories and poems. And I asked them that through contacts I had, I asked them that who are the writers, and can you send me some of their works? And I started reading them, and only criteria was that I had to really like them. You know, they had these stories or poems had to really touch my heart, and this is how through various writers, it's like a crowd-sourced book. Yeah. And through my contacts in Bihar, I mean, I've not been to Bihar in past 3 years actually, and the whole book was done actually in a country called Madagascar, and where I was posted, and it was through some authors, of course, I knew, like Anamika ji, I knew, and I was sure that I had to include a poem which is about Bihar. Yeah. Also, one criteria was to include the works which talk about Bihar, or Biharis in some way.
Okay. Anamika, coming to you, teach English, you write in Hindi. Do you think this anthology represents the kind of the mind of Bihar, or as Arvind Narayan Das would say, Republic of Bihar?
Right.
You know, and what about women poets? I kind of counted, there are 10 out of 63 poets are women, right from Buddhist nuns like Muta and Sumangal Mata to you and even younger poets. So do you think women are represented enough, and what does it tell you about women poets from Bihar?
Well, of course it offers it's like, 5 rivers flowing together, like the 5 bhashas, lok bhashas, collecting all kinds of local herbs. you must be, I think both of you hail from the same moral geography. And you must be holding in your mind that what Bihar is to India, what India is to the larger world. Rich in traditions, linguistic traditions, and all kinds of tradition. And of course, poor in many other ways in the dispersal of resources, etc. Politically also challenged, but people who have been pushed to the margin have a large stock exchange of memories. And you must be both remembering, and those who hail from Bihar must be remembering, that we live in a joint family of gods, pitars, ghosts, 3 generations of people around us, and the whole mohalla is like an extended family. We don't even have the concept of a single mother. We all have multiple mothers, and out of the many mothers we have in the mohalla or the locality, mother tongue is also a mother, and this mother has many sister languages. Tributaries, no. They're not tributaries, they are sister languages feeding into each other, in the sense that when a child is raised, she is told stories not only by her mother and grandmother, but also by a chachi who hails from maybe Angadesh, speaking Angika, and then a mami who comes from the Bhojpuri belt, or a bua who has been married into some other Magahi or some other place, folk language. So what a child gets in a basket of memory is folk tales and folk songs from all the world, from all dialects, whatever is known as dialect, and not, actually dialects are also not dialects now because they have a rich fund of written literature. So any Bihari child, anybody growing up in the moral geography of Bihar has a lot to say and contribute. And like a Savan ka Jhula, we take a deep, or a pendulum, we keep swinging from racial, genetic, or evolutionary memory to the personal memory as a migrant. So migranthood, which is a very, very telling state of womanhood. We are all migrants because we don't belong to the place where we grow up. So what we have is there is something called Chorauka Dhan for women. Chorauka Dhan is all that she hides in her aanchal or in her tin ki peti or whatever she has. All the memories, all the broken ornaments, bandhak jo chale jate hain, wo bhi gehne, toote phoote bartan, whatever she has gathered from all sources. So what is this? Even language is a Chorauka Dhan. Whatever memories, whatever little things, fragments we have gathered from these folk tales, and whatever we have been taught in universities also, because we know that we were sent to them very early. We had a university system of our own. Initially, our grandfathers went to Calcutta University, but soon the Bengal presidency days were over, and we had our own universities. And women's education, like our mothers and other people from her generation, they also had some grounding in Pali literature, Sanskrit literature, English literature, and all of us, people like us who migrated even further or even went abroad, carried those bundles, the Chorauka Dhan in their pautis, plastic, baskets, little baskets for tidbits, and this is what became the fund of memory to depend upon. When a writer writes, she writes a lot, and people who have been pushed to their margins hear a lot, listen to a lot. Dhwani, whatever Anandavardhan refers to as dhwani. So echo or reverberance is, reverberations, whatever. or whatever flashes in the eyes within the eye. You know, all those who are on the margins are very good observers, and they listen a lot because they have been pushed to silence. All that is put to use when they start writing. This is what had happened during the nuns, the period when the nuns spoke to Bihar, built an argument of their own. To this day, when women are living in sublet accommodations on the margins of Delhi University, they are not even granted a seat in the hostel, but it's still right in Barsatis and all kinds of places. So we have very many locales.
You want to add something?
I just want to add that, you know, the editor, I mean, the person at HarperCollins who has edited this book is a woman, actually. Prema, if you are around here. And it was one of her, like, very strong suggestions to have more women writers in this book. So out of 61 total writers who are represented in this book, 10 are women writers.
10 are women, yeah.
And the book actually begins with a woman writer.
Begins, yeah, a beautiful
and
poem.
Two nuns who were writing in 6th century BC. And they were writing in a language called Pali. And their poems, if you read today, they're very, they sound so modern. They talk about emancipation. So, and there are a number of, there's a story by Kabita who writes about this desire of her mother to get married when she's in her 70s, and the family vehemently protests that decision, except her daughter who supports it. So these are very fine women's stories in this book. I think you are going to like these stories.
Yeah, it's a brilliant anthology. Abhay, there are many things which struck me about this anthology, but I'll confine to two. One is your own translation. You have translated across languages: Urdu, Maghi, Maithili, Sanskrit, Urdu. So tell me about, because translation is a very evolved craft, and the register changes, the translation register. How did you go about it? Second thing is inclusion of Hira Dome, late 19th century poet who wrote this, which is, you have translated that poem, Achut Ki Sikayat. It's a brilliant poem, and getting Hira Dome itself, because he got published in, I think, Saraswati from Allahabad. So please tell us about your whole because I find this amazing that you translate across languages. Yeah.
So, see, I mean, as Anamika ji said, that in Bihar you grow up with mummies, who are all from all these different traditions. And actually they are not very different from each other. And, as a translator, you have to know the destination language very well. Of course, you should know the source language, but what you should be more proficient is in the destination language. So translating from Maghi, which is my mother tongue, or Bhojpuri, or from Pali, it's not been a difficult thing for me. I know many other languages, foreign languages. So somehow I can figure out the roots of the words and the context in which they are being said, and that comes out in translations. But also I would like to say that the book also introduces you to the very first Indian writer in English. He was from Patna, and there's an excerpt of his memoir in this book. It also introduces you to Hira Dome, the first Dalit writer in India, and his kabita, his poem called Achut Ki Shikayat, or which portrays a very grim picture of Indian society. And at one point of time, we had discussions that whether, because the accusations are so blunt and so stark, that should this poem be included in the book. Okay. So, but I think we did well to include this poem.
Yeah, but the tone is very mild.
Hard hitting. Yeah, it's hard hitting, but tone is
you
mild.
retain the tone, because it's a
it's
complex
a beautiful translation. I've read it in Hindi, and it's a very, very good translation. Anamika, coming to you, you have many works which are with the background of Bihar, why Amrapali? Was it, I have been very curious, why did you kind of give Amrapali, which is again a very
Among
good
women,
book.
also, I mean, women are suffer migranthood as a whole. I mean, in the basics, but women, among women, people who have been made to live the the life of a nagarvadhu.
Yeah.
Among women, they are the worst sufferers. Even among women have been suffering all through. But even among women, Dalit women and women who are made to love people, who are asked to make love to people whom they don't really love.
Yeah.
This is a great challenge. Body has been the site of tortures, all kinds of tortures for women, all kinds. But I think these women have suffered the more. It's very difficult for a woman to make love to a person or serve a person that she doesn't really approve of or admire. So that kind of torture. And every woman is actually an Amrapali in the sense that she is in quest of a Buddha in you, in him. Every man that a woman meets, so looking for a Buddha element in him. So Amrapali is also a metaphor of the woman's quest for the ideal person who doesn't reduce her to just a doll of flesh, who has the patience to look within and identify with the deeper self. So Amrapali also is a metaphor for that quest. And she is the first woman who had dared to strike a dialogue with a person who was initially not willing to take them, in that. Because he had his fears that if women become a part of the, Sangha, then the men will be diverted. Therefore, he was not against women, but he had his fears. Now, the person who could argue very well, we are basically from Vithilanchal, and we've had the tradition of Bharati, who challenged Shankaracharya.
Wow.
And we live in an era when we were growing up, you and you too, people used to talk about brain drain. Now, your generation, the people of the younger generation, talk about body shopping. Now again, from brain to body is a very blunt kind of a transition. And women's perspective on this issue is a must.
Okay, now I've been told, as I said, it's a short session, so I'm just left with a few minutes. So I'll throw it open for questions. Please keep it short, and you can talk to the authors later. Yeah. Well, you want to listen to something?
Bihari.
Yeah, it's translated in English. Yeah, so Abhay can say.
Bihari,
I leave it to Abhay.
बिहार में देखिए कई भाषाएं हैं. बिहार में जैसे लोगों को, जब मैं दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय आया था पढ़ने के लिए बिहार से, तो उन्होंने पूछा कि आप बिहारी आती है आपको? तो मैंने कहा बिहारी ये कौन सी भाषा है, हम तो वहाँ भोजपुरी बोलते हैं, मगी बोलते हैं, मैथिली बोलते हैं, लेकिन बिहारी तो कोई भाषा है नहीं. तो उन्होंने कहा नहीं, कुछ बिहारी में बोलिए. तो ये एक मतलब आप लोग में से यहाँ कई लोग बिहार से होंगे, तो आपको भी ये प्रश्न पूछा गया होगा. तो बिहारी जो है, इसलिए मैंने कहा कि ठीक है, चलो एक द बुक ऑफ बिहारी लिटरेचर ही एडिट कर देते हैं. सो ये जो किताब है, इसमें पहली बार जो है इतनी भाषाओं से एक साथ अनुवाद हुआ है, और पर्टिकुलरली मगही भाषा का बहुत कम अनुवाद हुआ है. इसमें जो कहानियाँ मैंने अनुवाद की है वो पहली बार अनुवाद हुई है, और कई जो अनुवादक हैं वो महिलाएं हैं. उनमें से एक यहाँ पे हमारी चैताली पांड्या जी भी हैं, जो पहली बार अनुवाद इन्होंने किया है अपने जीवन में, और बहुत ही बढ़िया अनुवाद किया है. तो ट्रांसलेशन जो इस किताब में अनुवादकों की भी एक नई बिहारी मतलब जो साहित्य है उसके जो अनुवादक हैं उसकी भी एक नई लोगों को इसने जन्म दिया है. दूसरा कि बिहार में एक और चीज़ है कि अगर बिहार के बारे में लोग जानते हैं तो वो मेनली मैथिली जानते हैं या भोजपुरी जानते हैं, लेकिन बिहार में और भी कई भाषाएं हैं. तो मैंने ये कोशिश किया है कि इस किताब के ज़रिए आप बिहार का जो और भाषाएं हैं उसके बारे में भी आपको पता
Actually, this is
पता
just
चले।
a teaser for on Bihari literature.
तो आप इसको
There will be
जरूर-
many more volumes on this.
हाँ, इसकी ये शुरुआत है मात्र, बट बिहार में और भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं। मैंने पहला मगही उपन्यास का भी अनुवाद किया है और ये किताब है, आप जरूर इसको देखें।
So we have just time for please ma'am, tell me.
ऐसे ही बोलिए, सुनाई दे रहा है।
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm audible. Yeah. It was really a delight listening to you all. I'm Dr. Rakhi Vyas, an assistant professor in the Department of English at Jainarayan Vyas University, Jaipur. My question to the both of you is, it pertains to translation. What, according to you, is the key to good translation? Or what is best translation? Thank you.
मैं देखिए कई भाषाओं से अनुवाद करता हूँ, संस्कृत से भी किया है, रूसी से भी किया है, पुर्तगाली से भी किया है, बहुत सारी भाषाओं से अनुवाद किया है। आपको मैंने जो बताया है कि डेस्टिनेशन लैंग्वेज जो है, जिस भाषा में आप अनुवाद करना चाहते हैं, उसका आपको सेंस होना चाहिए, बहुत मजबूत पकड़ होनी चाहिए उस भाषा पे, तो आप कुछ भी अनुवाद कर सकते हैं। सो ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव टू नो द सोर्स लैंग्वेज, बट तो जो अनुवाद क्या है, व्हाट इज अनुवाद? अनुवाद इज टू ब्रिंग whatever, even Hindi has to be translated into contemporary Hindi. तो जैसे कि आज की जो भाषा है, क्योंकि अनुवाद का मतलब है कि आपको समझाना है इस जनरेशन को, इस पीढ़ी को, हर 20 वर्ष के बाद भाषा बदल जाती है, हिंदी भी बदल जाती है, मगही भी बदल जाती है, तो उसको आज की जो अंग्रेजी है वो शेक्सपियर को भी आजकल ट्रांसलेट करना पड़ रहा है अंग्रेजी में। So this is the sense of good translation, that it should be able to communicate exactly to the current generation, जो readers हैं उन तक जो चीज़ें हैं वो पहुंच जानी चाहिए। अनामिका जी और
Anamika, you want to add something?
Retention politics, because you teach literature, you know about it already, that there is a politics of retention, to retain the flavor. मैं आस्वाद, वही आस्वाद भाषा का बना रहे, इसके लिए थोड़ा थोड़ा वो छौंक नहीं, एक तरह से अस्तर लगा देते हैं अपनी भाषा का भी। ये जो वेनुती वगैरह हैं वो कहते हैं कि ट्रांसलेशन की तरह थोड़ा थोड़ा ब्रेक देना, जैसे गाड़ी चलाते हुए ब्रेक लगाते हैं ना, वैसे थोड़ा थोड़ा ब्रेक लगाना चाहिए। और पहले जैसे चरणों में बैठा देते थे मतलब भारतीय शब्दों को एकदम से फुटनोट देकर, वैसे नहीं लगा के जैसे अंग्रेज़ी वाले फ्रेंच को उसी प्रवाह में दे देते हैं, वैसे ही रिटेंशन की पॉलिटिक्स पूरी की पूरी है, आपको पता ही है। और बाकी की रसास्वाद बना रहे, नए जेनरेशन, नई पीढ़ी के पास पैगाम पहुंच जाए, लेकिन ये भी कि जैसा है कि जैसे नानी दादी की साड़ी हो और आप उसका डिज़ाइनर ड्रेस सिल रही हूँ, है ना, तो आधार पट वही है, लेकिन फिर भी बीइंग फ्रेंड्स विद द आधार टेक्स्ट इज़ ओके। पहले एक डिबेट होती थी कि a beautiful translation is not loyal and a loyal translation is beautiful. Magar as women now we know that being friends is enough. Loyalty is a dated concept.
So on this lovely note, thank you everyone. This is all the time we have. So you can meet the authors later. Yeah, thank you.